And the third part is parts of my reflections as how to use it for tech. So don't expect anything from the slide, but there is here. So then, the general question, I guess, is that when you're developing macro packages for tech, obviously you have an idea of what you want to do, hopefully, otherwise it's probably not going to be very useful. However, there are many, many parts where it can be really important to specify the exact expectations from the user, to know, well, it's important both to know them and to be able to write them somewhere. I mean, when doing any kind of computer programming for the industry or for a paying customer, there is a document, some specification. I mean, the expectations are written out in some way. Obviously, for such a piece of software as tech is often not the case, especially as it's been developed over decades and decades. And for the many different packages, you don't have anything like that. Well, that's precisely what I've tried to address. So I'll just show you to start with one small set of tools I've developed 1 year ago for polyglossia. So let's go back to the terminal and do things. So, I should have got that too. And can you read it from? Otherwise, it's really pointless. I have to mess around with environment variables. Otherwise, everything breaks down. And let's get started in 30 seconds. So the tool is this. I'm in my polyglossia directory. I have a couple of things. And there is a directory called tests, because I wanted to write a couple of tests for the package for polyglossia. So for example, let's start with that. Since I'm living in London at the moment, and we are having all the talks in English, one of the things that you need to do in English is that you have different variants. The way it is done in polyglossia. I'm sorry, the blue is really quite horrible. Is that better? Probably a little better. The fun part is that if you set the date in English, it will tell you that today is May 2nd, 2013. Whereas for the one we use most of the time in Great Britain, you put it in the normal way, which is, they say 2nd of May 2013, so it's obviously two different things. And that simple file I wrote just to be able to tell, well, as you can see, I'm doing really two things. First of all, I'm hard coding one date, so that's the preliminary thing. So I will actually the date will be the 17th of August 2012. Then I simply write today. And then I do that previous paragraph that is one scale point wide that contains the word biography. So I do two things. I want to set the date and to see how biography is hyphenated. That's what I'm really after. So if you now compile this thing, again with Z-LaTeX, because as I said, Lua-LaTeX doesn't really work yet. So please be patient. So what does it do? It does exactly what I expect it to. It says 7th of August 2012 because it's the British variant of English. The American would be August 17th, blah, blah, blah. And the hyphenation of biography is, according to etymological lines, bio followed by graphy. The American one, it's basically hyphenated all over the place. So the reason I have that is that, well, obviously it's a test. I want to test that polyglossia works well in that case. But it's not only testing the functionality, it's also specifying an expectation. It's saying, the expectation was specified by me just now verbally. But the next step for that is to actually write it out by put it out in some reference output. Yeah, I have that. That's a little underwhelming. Yes, here it is. I have that simple file that is basically a text representation of what I just showed. And so this here actually is my specification, because that's what I expect to see if I had the American part, the American variant with the different things. And the part that's really starting to get interesting is when I can process that automatically, because that is, I have actually not written that file myself. It's simply the output of PDF to text, one of the tools of the XPDF suite. So the really funny part is to do that. So I'm in okay, right now I'm making a mess in my working directory, but I've just saw that out at the end of the talk. So let's use PDF to text on testbritish.pdf. It outputs a file called text, blah blah .text, this one, there, and it doesn't really work. Okay, it does say 7th of August 2012, but then I don't have a line return. And then it says biography in full, which is completely useless if I want to specify hyphenation. That's the exact contrary. So I was really frustrated when I found that out. Fortunately, it's simply a matter of specifying one particular switch. So dash layout preserves the layout. And look at that, now I have that thing. So now I have both tools ready. I have my tech file, my small test, specify two expectations. And I have a way to process that automatically. So now let's move on to the next part. Let's write a small tool that could process that automatically. So as you can see, the directory here is called ref for reference. So that's my reference output. I won't mess with it. I never touch it. I mean, I only touch it when I modify my expectations or when I enhance the test file. And I only need to write a script to process that automatically and compare the output of this one with the one in the reference directory. So obviously I want to write it in Lua, because that's the scripting language we have now in the tech world. So that's the thing I came up with. Started 1 year ago, and I enhanced it a little bit. It's very, very ugly. Well, it works. I basically have two options. And when I call tenet run.lua, so first of all, I have to call it with text.lua because I have all the different embedded libraries in text.lua. Text.lua being, the Lua, the text.lua is the way LuaTeX behaves. Sorry, when you call LuaTeX with the name text.lua, it behaves as the Lua interpreter, but it has a lot more libraries. So, for example, LTeX for doing parsing and things like that. LFS is Lua file system. So I need that to explore the libraries. So my two options are really here, and maybe it's clearer if I do that. I have two options. Ego stands for the name of the executable. I have -x and -l for running only ZTeX or running only LuaTeX, because obviously when I started that, I was actually in the process of porting Polyglossia to LuaTeX. It was really important to be able to do both. I mean, eventually we want to run both LuaTeX and ZTeX, but in the process of developing, at first only ZTeX was working, then I was doing things with LuaTeX, with Polyglossia, to support LuaTeX. So, I expect the first test to fail. So let's do that. So the way you run that thing is, let's run it without options, and let's run it on the test British thing. And all tests pass. So what you see is obviously only the output of ZTeX and LuaTeX. I run both things at the same time. So up to this is the output of LuaTeX, and this is output of my script that said test file. Okay, let's just have a look back at the script. So this here is all setting up things, blah blah blah. Looking into the current directory, parsing the command lines. Not very interesting. You need to do it, but it's not the most fascinating part. Changing to the current directory, and this is the Lua code that says for something format in hyper. Format is a hash, it's associative arrays of different things. So it's a list of key value pairs. So I'm just running, and here the keys are simply 1, 2, etc. So when it's interesting, the key the formats, just the list of formats. It can be LuaTeX, ZTeX, or both inside. So for all formats, then base name is the base name of the file, so test-British in that case. And I simply, I run format. So format being the name ZLaTeX or LuaTeX, so I basically run LuaTeX on the path to the file, and then I run that. Oh, I didn't mention UTF-8, but obviously you do want UTF-8 all the time. Because we are saying you redirect the output to them, so you simply just discard the output, don't care about that, and you execute diff. So now let's make something funny. Not funny, haha, funny, strange. It still made you laugh. So let's do something actually strange by breaking up that's my file with the expectation, so let's just screw it up. So let's try something like that. I think the American hyphenation would be that. So let's just screw it. And let's run my thingy. So the same text, blah blah. What? I'm sorry, I edited the thing in out. Out is...
Yeah, the one that you produced.
It's not there.
Yeah.
So let's not spend out of this. Something like that. That's really odd, by the way, but if you look at the details of hyphenation patterns in English, especially the American patterns, because we have two sets of patterns for American and British, you have things like this all over the place when it hyphenates right after the beginning of a syllable, because clearly, phonetically the syllable begins at a G, but it still breaks. That's going down. So what happens here? It screws up. So that's the output of LuaTeX because, again, it simply processes LuaTeX, first ZTeX. Yeah, ZTeX here, and then LuaTeX. So for the end of the LuaTeX run, you see that. Output written on there, blah, blah, as usual. And then that's the output of diff, so I simply compare both files and say that the reference one has that because that's what I just wrote, and that's the one that text was processed. So obviously something, my tests output something went wrong, and then it says some tests are failing. And in that case, they're failing for both LuaTeX and ZLaTeX because I actually tweaked the expectation file. So what happened, for example, when I was developing polyglossy implementing support for LuaTeX, what happened was that it would work for ZTeX, but not for LuaTeX, so it simply tell me, this didn't work here. So that's a very simple tool. There's really nothing special about it. But it does, I think, a very useful job because it enables me to have, as I said, I really have both a test suite, so something that I can run at any time to see what the current state of the package does, if I have tests. And it also specifies an expectation, even if in that case it's a little bit hidden. By the way, let's stop the madness and just restore the thing, otherwise I'll have nasty surprises later. I'll just run that thing again. So it works again. So, well, that was the idea. Again, I started that 1 year ago. And and so with both, the things I said, the idea of having both a test suite and a list of different expected outputs. So the relation with the title of my talk, and where I hope you'll find it interesting too, is that is obviously the basis for something that is already practiced in the industry. That's already, part of many software development teams, where they do what is called, as in my talk, behavior-driven development. So you can obviously look up the definition on. Yeah, sorry.
It also provides, by the way, so to say, regression tests.
Yeah, that's what I meant with the test. That's really regression tests. I mean, I want. Well, it's both. It's specification of.
Yeah. First of all, you specify your expectations. This is the first step before you program.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you have
a regression test.
A control if the behavior still is the same.
Exactly.
Later on, and so on.
That's why it's called behavior-driven development. So let's just. Well, you can read obviously all kind of things. There are many blog articles and things. Just to introduce what it is, it's well, really, as Jerzy said, behavior-driven development. It's actually much more than what I did. It's supposed to be a whole development methodology. I mean, that's kind of an empty word, methodology, but that's generally a method for organizing the entire work of your team of programmers. So obviously, we don't really want to do something as elaborate as that. But I really wanted to take the main idea, which was to first specify what the program should do, and especially what it should do in many small, well-defined cases, and then write the expectation, and then write my code. So let's now show you an example of how it's done in the industry. That's actually something really funny that I just did last week. Because I was applying for a company that just rejected my application, so I have absolutely no scruples whatsoever into showing that. When I applied, that's the test they sent me, saying, okay, please do that and program that in Ruby, because that was one of the requirements of the job I was doing. So I'd like to show you a small example. Hopefully the 40 minutes that we have left will be enough. Just a simple way of how it's done using the different tools that we have for software development. So let's just have a look at the requirements. The company is called notonthehighstreet.com, which is a ridiculous name. I mean, it's really ridiculous to have a domain name as a company name, but sue themselves. So notonthehighstreet.com, they're not a marketplace. They sell stuff. This stuff have prices, and of course they have a marketing team that want people to buy more stuff. And in order to do that, the way you do it in marketing is that you offer them incentives by saying. So for example, we sell different things, such as a travel card holder for your Oyster card, which is the thing that you use in England. You have personalized cufflinks, and use here, and a kid's t-shirt, which you can buy as well. And the rules so the marketing rules.
The famous t-shirt.
Yes. Much more than that person. Anyway, sorry. And the rules are as follow: if you spend over £60, sorry, that's 30, 40, 50, and £60, you get 10% off. So you get £6 off. If you buy 2 or more travel card holders, so I had another one, but I can't find it. Anyway, if you have 2 or more travel card holders, then the price drops to $8.50. So that's a rather basic programming job. The idea of the recruitment person that sent me that was, of course, that I wanted to see what my code looked like. So for those of you who are familiar with object-oriented languages, this would seem quite obvious. However, for those of you who are not, this is simple. They want me to program a class to write a class checkout which I can instantiate. Sorry. So I should be able to create a new instance of the class, then call a method, a function called scan on that instance of the class. So code.scan item scans one item, then once again, and then code.total calls the function called total on that class. So they want me to do that. They even provided me with test data. That is correct. I actually checked that test data by hand. So as you can see, if your basket contains article 1, and 2, and 3, so these 3 things above here, and then the price should be 66.78, because you spend over 60, so you have that slightly odd number because you have over 60, so the first rule applies, so you get 10% off. And etc. with basket containing article 1 and 3 and the lagging 1 and nothing blah blah blah. So let's just show you how we do it using the different tools that we have for behavior-driven development. There is one tool called cucumber, which is the name of the product. So obviously it's a ridiculous name, and I think everybody agrees, but it's a very neat tool. And there is another one. So that's a thing that is...
The cucumber for Python is called lettuce.
Go out, you're not allowed any more remarks. Go fetch me a coffee. Okay, so that's actually specifically aimed at behavior-driven development. There's another one that we use, especially in Ruby, that's called RSpec. I have the book for RSpec as well, but I think it's in our Ruby only. So let's just show you how it works. Okay, let's keep that polyglosssia thing here, and let's go to the code.
Is it possible to slightly increase the size?
Sorry, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. A couple of years ago, I was working with a colleague who was very, very short-sighted. Is that okay? A little bit more? Less?
Yes, that's okay.
Better? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Obviously, I know what's written, so I don't really care, actually. But I can. Yeah, a couple of years ago, I was working with someone who was very, very short-sighted. I mean, he was working on my team as a programmer. He was actually sort of the boss. And it took me several months to realize that whenever I showed him my screen, he never saw anything. So you see what happened? He didn't see anything. He said, yeah. Okay. So I just set up a couple of things in that directory. And let's show you how Cucumber works. By default, it looks in a directory called features, okay, because the features are the definitions of your product features. They are the actual features. And so the directory cheat is where I already have everything because I already programmed everything. So obviously I have the feature file, and the feature file contains this. So that's a Cucumber file. It defines the one feature called checkout because that's the thing that we want to check out. This is a features checkout sense. This is simply some kind of some sort of free-form text that's supposed to describe, the big picture of what that feature is. So this is supposed to be human readable. And this here is a Cucumber keyword background. This is just some human readable description. And all that will actually be interpreted automatically by my code. It will be interpreted automatically by Cucumber, by the program, according to my own specifications. So the keyword, as you can see, it's a lot of given and then, because those are the native Cucumber keywords. So the Holy Trilogy, so to speak, the Holy Trinity, to go back to my earlier jokes, is a given when then. So given describes the different, different things that we have in the environment. So in that case, I have the following items with the prices that we've just seen, and the two rules. So this is simply a human readable description of the rule that was just there, a little bit simplified. So this is the definition of the thing. And the part that personally I find extremely exciting is that from this on, you can define what all that code does in terms of your own low-level code. So given and when blah blah are interpreted by Cucumber, and he then passes that sentence according to your specification and hooks it directly into your code. So the background is just to define something that will be reused, for its scenario. And the scenarios are the different stories. I mean, stories are a word that you use a lot in that context to say, it's the user journey or what a user should see. So one scenario is that with that background, giving a shopping basket when I scan product 1 and I scan product 2 and I scan product 3, then the total price should be that. And the reason why it's so verbose here is that I have simply defined a rule that says this bit of text here, I scan product followed by a number, should simply mean add product number X to the basket. And so, as you can see, I have a directory called cheat, but actually as soon as I define that in that directory, I can run Cucumber and it does that. So let's start with the beginning. and say, yeah, okay, some kind of wondering about my Ruby libraries. It just outputs, if you remember, that's the very, very top of the text. And again, that's the first line that defines the background. And all that in yellow means that these different steps haven't been defined. So you know the bit of phrase, the following items, and if you spend blah blah. It's called a pending test. And then says you can implement step definitions for all these steps using that, and that here is Ruby code. So again, I'm sorry for those of you for whom it seems a little bit complicated, but I think you can still understand the main issue of that. Sorry, the main virtue of that, because the thing what it says here is that, so for example, for that one step here, it gives you an example of how you can define the step by saying you should map this bit of text to some kind of code. And this I have
So
actually
if you
done.
have several similar
Yes.
structures, it tries to come up with a generalization.
Exactly, so it's to show you set steps. So, well, the thing about scanning things, for example. What I do here, so this is a cucumber key. Well, obviously, this do handy here is a block. I mean, it's a Ruby idiosyncrasy. This here is a regular expression. Obviously, I scan product followed by any number composed of decimal digits. And this here is the capture. So this string ID will be the number that is captured by the regular expression in brackets here. String I named it string ID because it's a string representation of the ID. So here that's simply Ruby for saying transform that to an integer. And here, well, you can recognize the bit of code that was here in the text of the assignment. They wanted me to say co equals checkout new with the proportional rules, and then co scan. And what I have here, the arrowbars means that it's a class variable. It's really not important. Instance variable in Ruby speak. So it's the actual variable co, and I say co.scan at items of ID. So earlier I have defined a co-variable, well, just here actually, here, and I have defined a set of items. And when I encounter this line, I simply tell the system, do that, and this part here, so this is just plain Ruby, I mean it comes with the language, but this part here is something that I defined, because checkout is a class that I have defined, scan is a method, so a function that I have defined. So all this hooks directly into my code. So again, assuming, obviously I have written everything, but assuming that I've actually done all these different things in the order that, assuming that I have just written that, that when you're developing using Cucumber would be the next step. And so if you remember that when running Cucumber right now, basically it's all yellow and it tells you nothing. When you copy that thing, copy this file, the step definitions I just showed you, to the proper directory. Step definitions is the name Cucumber expects, and obviously this is highly configurable, but there's no reason to deviate from the defaults for that. Now let's run Cucumber, and it's very exciting. It says it's failing, which is precisely what Years is starting hinting at. The thing is, you have defined all the expectations. So you want, your checkout system to be able to scan items and to compute things, but you haven't really done anything. The step definitions I just showed you, these things, assume that this could exist. And this is actually one of the main tenets of behavior-driven development that says you want to go outside in. You want to go, from the general expectation, from the general behavior of the system into the intimate details of the code. And at that point, I haven't written any code. I'm assuming that this will exist, that this will exist. So rule factory is the way I create the rules, the different rules that were there, the marketing promotions. And at this point I haven't done anything, so let's look again at what Cucumber does. It says, again, just copy the different descriptions. It says uninitialized constant item. Obviously nothing exists at this point. So let's just completely cheat and copy the code that I had there, which was in lib, I think. Yeah. I think that should do it. Embarrassing. Okay, let's rerun Cucumber. That would be interesting. Ha 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 ha. I'm an idiot. So obviously this is not supposed to be about Ruby programming, and not either about my failures to make the thing run the way it should. Oh yes, I need that thing as well. Sorry, just configuration file. Don't you love configuration files? You need that thing here, yeah. So obviously this is nothing fancy. It simply says load path is the path where Ruby will look for files, you know, for library files to load, and it says require checkout, which is the name of the file I just wrote. So I need that, and to copy that there. This, by the way, is also supposed to be the way it works, you know. As long as it's red, you do things until it works. And now let's try that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's all red. Because now the tests are... Did I say red? I read.
Yes.
You shouldn't put all this... That's all your fault. I'm doing basically a 2-hour talk. Anyway, so it's now all purple, yeah, blue, something. Red, green. Here, I found it. It's now all green, which I understand is the origin of the name Cucumber, because it's green like a cucumber. So now it's all green. This might look magical or old, but the thing is, I've actually written code, I mean, just copied code that actually does my thing, so... this part here where I am does define the class item with a couple of things. This does define a rule, different types of rule. This is a subclass of rule, and the class checkout with the different initializing things, and the function scan that I hinted at earlier, and obviously the function total. And just in order to show you that I'm not actually cheating with you, so this returns the total. You know, it's total run 2. Okay, this is just an idiosyncrasy because I have to run to 2 decimal places, obviously, because it's a price in pounds and pence, and not, you know, fractions of pence. If I do that, if I just add 1 to the return result, we should expect that the code will break, which it does. And it says that very interesting thing here. So for the last test of that thing, expected 73.76, got 74.76, which is normal because I just took the code that did work, added 1, and then obviously it gives 1 more than the actual result. So, well, this is actual, it's obviously only something that you might want to use. As I hinted in Ruby, there actually is something that goes at a much lower level. Sorry, let me fix that because it bothers me. There is another tool called Aspect, I mentioned earlier, which acts at another level, and the things in Aspect, look, that's the one interesting. And what it does is that it encourages you to actually define the really low-level behavior of the 2 different things. And the BDD, so the behavior-driven development cycle, is supposed to be you start with Cucumber, you start, you know, with the general features, describing the different stories, the way you expect the system to behave. You start with Cucumber, and then you first write your steps, the things I just showed you. You expect them to fail, obviously, then you go down to the level of Aspect, and then you describe the different things. So, for example, item here, which describes the different item, the online store as have, you say things like defining a new item should have a particular price, I just get here, and it should be of class item. That's not very interesting. That's actually quite cool. If I try to define an item with no ID, it will raise an error because I want an item to have an ID. So that's one of the brilliant parts of that really you can really almost read it like it's written in plain English. It says expect that command to raise an error bad item. So that's what I do at a much lower level. And so now let's get back to my slides. So I had a problem which was what do users expect from a package. The principle of behavior-driven development that says it's all behavior, because you say what the system should do in different circumstances. And then the third and last slide would be making it call with tech, because now the issue I have is that I think we can definitely use that approach with the different steps to actually write a similar. Sorry, let's show you the checkout thing. I definitely think that thing that I showed you with my small Lua script and the separate file, the reference output of latex. So this one here. That thing here that I actually generated with PDF to text. I definitely see a case where we could put it in such a form. Okay. You would say, given a LaTeX document, when I set such price, let's do it like that. I would like to be able to write even a LaTeX document, when I set the language to English with variant British, then, and I set the word biography in a very narrow paragraph, then I should see the word hyphenated as, what was it? Like that, wasn't it? As biography. And if I actually do that, so it's a scenario, British hyphenation, let's do a little bit of indent. Feature of messing around. Entertaining the origins of Papatek. That's the plain text description of what I'm doing. And do that. Okay. Nice indentation. And let's now create a whole new directory, sorry, go to features, move the thing I just had here. I cannot run Cucumber because I'm an idiot. I need the gem file. Okay, so please ignore that. So I'm actually going to show you how we can start something in that way. Obviously, I need a little bit of things behind the scenes doing for Cucumber. So let's go back to my file here. What else did I want to see? I had also the date thing. So the scenario would be for British date format.
You're missing an S. then I should see the word hyphenated S.
Yeah. Sure, thanks. But as you know, this is actually, well, I can write anything I want because, you know...
But that's...
No, that bothers you. It's... Okay, so let's not try and be cute. I'll just... Yeah, 15 minutes. I'm not afraid of you. When I said the language. So English with variant. British. And I don't know, let's say, and I type date. Oh no, let's do that. And I set the word date, then I should see the text 2nd May 2013. So let's not try. I'll just do the work in the same directory. Let's go back to So let's now do Cucumber. Earlier I showed you that you could run a Cucumber just by typing Cucumber, but you can also give him a file name. So that thing is not where it's supposed to be. I want things to be where they're supposed to be. And obviously, as you had earlier, it's all yellow. So I mean, you know, neither passing nor failing, it's only pending. But now I can do that. So let's assume I'm using step definitions in Ruby, as I just had. I can do that. So, yeah, step definitions, later steps. So is it later? Yeah, it needs to end with underscore steps, so that Cucumber picks it up, you know what it does. And what I would like to do, let's copy that line, because Cucumber so very helpfully tries to do that.
What version of Ruby do you need?
Any from as old as 1.8, I guess. I think I'm using 1.8. It's at least 8 years old, something like that. And now my question is, what do I do? That was present, so it is very much a work in progress. Obviously, you want to use later. So let's say, say tex file equals file open feature test.tex for writing. So this simply you know Ruby for open that file and start writing to it. And now what do I see? Well, as you can see, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. So earlier I wanted to run only on that feature file and only on that engine, not the whole thing. So now that I have two scenarios of the two ones I defined, 8 steps. Okay, again the one I defined. So the scenarios are still undefined because I haven't defined all the steps that we need. However, I have 2 steps passing, or 2 identical steps as it is in that case. Because now Cucumber sees that and says, okay, I'm open a file, let's start writing to it. And actually, if you look at it, obviously you do have the file in the, you see, feature test, and obviously it's empty. My girlfriend complains that I'm using the word obviously too much, but I don't care. She's not here anyway.
Obviously.
So, I've got at least 5 minutes for myself, right? Let's, obviously. So let's do my stuff. Sorry, I want to, yeah, I want that. So I would like to do that. And let's now do this. Let's define this a few more steps. So, up. Yep. So, when I set the language to, so again, I simply copied what Cucumber just told me to copy, but that's really what I want. I just want to change a couple of variable names. This here is a language, this here is a variant. So again, I just change the variable names.
And you could, I guess, of course, strengthen the regular expression to look for I don't know, only letters or something.
Absolutely.
That would be
Sorry.
probably
Yeah. I could, for example, say something idiotic like that, and then I would actually grab 3 arguments, and okay, this one is pointless. But so I now have within that step 2 variables called respectively language and variant, and I think what I want to do is simply to write to write to the file and to write the following. Use package polyglossia. Makes sense. Just in polyglossia. Tex file write. Set main language. Variant equals variant. So that's again the Ruby idiom to say you just set a string with the value of that variable. Yes, I don't want that. Value variant. So yeah. So these curly braces here are part of the Ruby thing. So with a sharp sign and the braces, and that's actually what gets output to tech and the language. My main language is language. And let's have a look at that. Everything breaks down. Probably because I'm an idiot. Yeah. Okay, so a couple of fixes. Yes. And now I have 4 steps passing. That's exciting. I'm actually doing something. And right now, well, obviously I'm still not really doing anything yet. But I do have my file. So, so I'm quite proud of myself. So that file is very boring. It contains only that. So I think I'll just make it a little bit nicer by using the method put s instead of write. This should write a new line. And by the way, I just realized something. I opened that file, but it's not yet a LaTeX document. When I open it, I should actually say LaTeX. So if you paid attention to the details of my original text file that I showed at the very beginning of my talk, I used the minimal class, which I really like because when you want to have a minimal document, that's what, you know. So that would be, so again, 2 slashes, obviously, document class minimal. Yeah. And I have no idea what I'm doing. Much like Adam this morning, you know, you want to actually...
I think one bracket is missing.
Thanks, Moitza. So yeah, I'll just make Moitza and ELG do the talk next time. And at that point, I'm guessing that thing should be in the preamble. That's a little bit of a pickle. Let's not address that question yet, okay? Because I'm not, in my 1 steps, I'm not sure what's part of the preamble, what's part, and I'm not sure when to say beginning document. So let's not address that. What I've done right now is just to modify my steps a little bit. They should still pass the same thing. And now I will do something that should be exciting to you. In that next step, yeah, the thing about date. Sorry. Yes, this one. Sorry. Lost in my third. This here step. So, fixing indentation. I have one more step for that. Sorry. I mean, I can define 1 step for this bit of text and 1 step for this one, but why would you when you can use regular expressions? And you can use it thus by making that part optional, which is in Ruby akin to many other languages, programming languages. I make that thing optional by the interrogation mark here. And what I want to do now, I want to grab the word here, the word that I set here, and the narrow paragraph keyword. And I will do, in any case, I want to put the word into the text in order to typeset it. And what I do here is that if I actually have a second match, so if that optional part is here, then I want to add a bit of text by beginning a mini page, like I did, just a very narrow mini page. Mini page, one scale point. And actually, so now what I do is I first write the word out to check file. I also write that out, but obviously I should write that out before. So let's wrap up, otherwise Adam will hit on me. That's obviously very, very ugly and not encouraged at all, but for the moment, yet just define the step that way.
You also need to remove add character as parent language, variant language.
Thanks. Why? What do you mean?
There. This one. Add character.
Yeah, no, that's part of that's when in Ruby I just implicitly that. Okay, and it's still passing, so now we have 6 steps passing, 2 steps missing, and actually that's the most important step that's missing. And as you can see, I have now created my feature test, and obviously the actual bit of testing would be to run LaTeX and to compare it with the desired output, and that would be it really. I'm done.
Excellent. So yeah, thanks a lot. Do we have questions? I think we can take one question. Jerzy?
Tech development is not only about textual output, it's also about visual output.
Sure.
You want to know
Yeah.
if whatever happens is what you expect. Do you have any ideas how to do that sort of development?
Well, I think
behavior-driven development.
At the moment, I'm only using PDF to text, which is of course very primitive. I think other tools, including other tools related to PDF to text, from the same suite of, could actually be really helpful for looking into the PDF. But then obviously the detail is the issue is where do you want to stop into looking into details.
Comparing
I think
visual comparison, comparing with libraries, the expected picture with the picture which was produced actually.
Yes,
see if there is.
I think rendering bitmaps and comparing them sometimes is actually it's a very effective way to, for instance, spot typos or something. If you actually make a diff and you only see the pixels that are different.
The actual question is if Cucumber can be used to it for that sort of thing, because what you see here is.
What I'm doing here is right. Cucumber is only the tool that's running everything.
So you can run, for example, some visual comparisons, some bitmap comparison things, and then see what is expected.
It's actually, I should have mentioned it at some point, but there are libraries for defining steps, like I did in like 40 different programming languages already. So, and Cucumber, the tool with the different keywords, is also internationalized, so you can use natural languages, foreign languages, also 30 to 40.
So the main point, or the main advantages, I think that the tests can be specified by non-programmers.
Exactly.
And these, when I do this, then do that. This is something that a business analyst, as you mentioned, could learn how to do it and then feed that to the programmers, and they could maybe fix it a little bit, but they wouldn't have to spend so much time transforming written.
And they could just that's one of the main strengths of that method. And obviously, as Jerzy mentioned, again, we do have tests afterwards, so it's always useful. Obviously, I don't expect any business analyst of the tech world to come forward to me with that kind of thing. I will do it myself. But I think it's a very useful tool. Also, and maybe that's the most important part of this. I think my whole talk is that it really forces people to think what they are doing beforehand. And I think as a programmer, in different programming languages in the industry, in small companies with actual paid customers, and also as a LaTeX enthusiast, that's really something that I sometimes miss when I see new packages out. You don't even know what the developer wanted to do. Comes out and...
Yeah, perhaps CPAN should require tests being
talk to Robin about that.
being delivered with the package.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.